Good morning, beautiful. Happy Valentine's Day. Yes, we're Auburn red today in honor of Valentine's Day. Yes. Anyway, we are going out here to treat ourselves to under the sink plumbing fixtures. Because they are dripping. Hold on. Oh my goodness, it's raining. Yes, it was raining hard today. Earlier, it's 68 degrees, which is nice and mild. Of course. Yeah, I did check out the light situation last night when I came home. Because I'm telling you, I wouldn't even know that there was a light situation, right? If I hadn't have been out in the dark and I was riding behind this other vehicle. I'm like, what what the heck is going on here? Why do it look like I only have one light? So, I can only say that the bulbs look like it works sometimes. Sometimes. Yes. So, I am totally afraid when it comes to plumbing. And this is a fear that I know I'm going to have to overcome, right? Because, right, you either overcome it or you make the money and have somebody else overcome your plumbing problems. So yeah, on my way to Lowe's, see if I could, I want to get some advice because it is drippy. Now, it shouldn't be drippy, okay? The way that the plumbing is set up, it's set up in such a way that the water goes against, the seams, right? However, you can put gaskets in there, to stop and make sure that, it's not dripping, right? Because while I'm under the sink trying to figure out, what's the problem, right? Why is it still dripping? And I'm trying to tighten down the faucet, right? So then it was like, okay, you know what the assignment is today. You might not be out there riding around, having fun and making money. No, we're not doing that right now, right? What we are doing is we're gonna go to Lowe's. Hopefully we can get some professional help, assistance. If not, we'll have to try to figure it out on our own. And that's cool, Like I said, these places, they used to, give you assistance. But it just seems like, some of the people that they've hired are actual, maybe contractors, or they work in the field and they mad because now they have to work by the hour. They can't charge by the job. And so yeah, they don't want to help you help yourself, right? Now, if they just don't know, which I doubt, if they just don't know, that's a whole nother scenario, okay? That's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about, they got hired, to these home, do DIY box stores, to be assistants. And they don't really want to be assistants. They want to be store clerks. Like, you should already know what you want. You should already know how it's done. They don't want to offer no advice, as if, they were going to get sued for giving the bad advice. Right? At Lowe's or Home Depot, I have never heard of a clerk getting, of an associate getting sued for telling them, to use a mortar instead of cement, or, the sink in the bathroom, I've been afraid. I do have some rubber cement, where, you bond it two different ways, and then, but like I said, I've just been afraid. I've been afraid to, to try to make it work. And so I haven't even been using that sink, except, except like a countertop where I could store stuff, right? Like my makeup and deodorant, hair products, and yeah. Haven't been using it, the typical way that people would, use, sinks. Right? And I had the water shut off because I was trying to keep, the ground dry. But oh my gosh, this kind of rain, look. You can see it. It looks like it's all gray out there, but that's water. Okay? And going over under the bridge right now. So ain't nothing but drops coming down here. So my tire light hasn't went off. I filled up the back tire last night. So I'm gonna have to fill up and it's raining so hard it's flooding. It rained the downpour was so hard, it flooded on the side of the road. They didn't really make a bunch of storm drains along these roads here in Dallas. No, they didn't. Storm drains are, few and far between. Because they didn't make storm drains, that increases the chance of flooding. And that's a beautiful thing, to be high up off of the ground, somewhat higher up off of the ground than, say, like a small car. Ooh, look at all of that water. Shit. Look at this. Look. You see what I'm talking about? It's like, and then some people, because they got a truck, right? They think it's cute. It's like, yay! I get to splash water all over the place, you know, and make it a hazard for other people to see, you know. That's men for you. And look, he even got his raw, he's got his raw lights on up there on the top. Because he's cool like that. Okay? If you don't believe it, he'll sort you out. So yeah, looks like the rain is trying to stop now. It was like a torrential downpour. That's why I was saying, you know, hey, we're not through winter yet. Winter has not hit us yet. Well, it has hit us, but it's not over. I mean, the first day of spring is what? March 22nd. And then we still have, in this area, we still have a freeze that, you know, does something, communicates to, you know, the buds and stuff that, you know, it's time to open up or something when the freeze thaws out. Something like that. I don't know exactly how, you know, nature be communicating, but it communicates. So, yeah, we're gonna go and see, you know, if we can complete this project, this plumbing situation, right? Because I definitely don't want to, overuse this new faucet in the kitchen and make it loose, right? Because that's what happened to the old cheap faucet that I replaced. It got so overused in such a quick amount of time. And of course, you know, me, instead of going up underneath the sink and tightening it up and, you know, I just decided, you know, to just use the wrench, you know, and I used the wrench until I stripped it. Yeah, I used the wrench until I stripped it. Now what should have been like a simple project, you know, is turning out to be, you know, wicked. It's wicked. And I feel like it's wicked because I think it should be a simple project. Right? It should have been a simple removal and replacement. Period. God only knows why that woman decided to just stop right there. Like, oh, I'm gonna stop right in front of the door. She don't want to get wet. Okay. So let's go in. Let me go in. Okay. They were really nice. I got some candy. Well, at least at the door they were nice. I got some candy and some flowers. Right, they're wooden flowers. So that's a beautiful thing for Valentine's Day. But they did not have the part that I was looking for. So I'm talking to this guy, right? And I'm like, well, you know, they're like, oh, you're trying to fix a leak, huh? Old guy, right? He looked like, I don't know, he might be my age, about 65-ish. Right? So I'm like, yeah. I said, but I'm thinking I could probably fix it by just, you know, putting in some washers, you know. But I figure if it's cheap enough, you know, I'll just replace the whole thing. So he was just quiet. He was just looking at me, right? And I said, so I said, oh, you know, you don't like to give advice? So he was like, well, you know, that looks like it's an old piece of, you know, PVC, you know. Yeah, I said, yeah, I didn't see it here, you know, because you know, it's one piece, whereas the other pieces, you know, you'll need multiple pieces, right? And he was like, oh, well, you know, kind of look like, you know, they used it the opposite way. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, listen, you know, I'm not trying to replace the whole plumbing of the house. I'm just trying to, you know, stop a fucking leak on a kitchen sink, right? But you know, I wasn't rude. I wasn't rude. So I just told him, I said, well, it doesn't look like you have it here. So he showed me these two pieces, right? I said, yeah, but you know, it looks like there's an end missing. I said, that looks like that's why they opened up the package and they took out the end, and then the other one is not even in a package. Technically, I could have walked out with it, but you know, I'm not that kind of person. But I'm gonna go over here to Home Depot. And see if I can find this part over here. I'm telling you, there's always something to do, right? Now, it's a lot easier, you know, doing repairs and you got a little extra change, right? It is. It's a lot easier, right? Like I said, you know, instead of me sitting up here, you know, looking for the right washers to fit, you know, these plumbing fixtures, you know, I'm like, well, I'm kind of willing to, to just go ahead and, you know, buy what I need, right? Now, you know me, you know, if I was working there, I would have said, yeah, you know, you could find some washers to fit inside of there and stop, you know, the leak, or you could use, you know, some rubber cement, and that would do the trick, you know, because he's seen that I had put back this welding thing, right? And I don't even know why I grabbed it, because I do have, you know, some plumber's welding, right? So I'm thinking, while I'm here and the water shut off, you know, I might want to get some electrical tape. Oh, you know, even if I really don't need it, because this particular brand, it looks like, you know, it has a good pressurized system, you know, of hose connection. Oh, I also went online and seen that they do have a 2-pet leash, right? As low as $8 if you are a Prime member, and $11 if you're not. And I'm like, oh my God, right? So now I am here at Home Depot. And see if I can find this under the sink PVC pipe. And I like my flowers. They don't really smell, but they look beautiful and they will last a lot longer, okay? Because they're made of wood. Let's go inside and see what they have, right? Maybe, I don't see anybody coming out with any love gifts. But I didn't see any coming out over there either, except me. And I actually wasn't even supposed to get it because they didn't have my phone number listed on their pro list. And I'm like, look, I used to use my email. You're like, well, let me go ahead and give it to you anyway.